Hello, everybody. Welcome to Market Moves. I'm Jason, the Wizard of Ops, and with me, as always, is Jay, Dark Matter. How you doing, Jay?
Good, Wiz. How was your weekend? Anything fun?
It was okay. Yeah. So my daughter is ill, so she's recovering. So she's 5. So it
Makes
takes a
sense.
lot out of you. And in fact, I'm solo today, so I just realized I didn't even hit the button that put our names on the bottom of our video. So,
But you can hit
I've
it
already
still. Go
failed.
ahead. Hit that
What?
button. You hit that button so you don't fail.
Yeah, I just realized I was like, I don't even know where that button is. I just have these banners and stuff. But anyway, all right.
We're off to a great start
Yeah, this
already
is
without
great.
you.
This is a banner start.
She
All right.
trusted us, and look at what she left.
Thank you, Mokataramati. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. So, Jay, we had a week last week, huh?
Oh man, what a whipsaw of a week. I mean, the levels were really good, but I mean, first of all, during an OPEX week, you typically do have a whipsaw, right? That is the changing of positions. It should be a little bit expected. But we're talking about ranges of 40 to 50 points within minutes, right? So if you were an intraday trader last week and you did not take your profits as we discussed at those levels, right? Like you were just whipsawed up, down, up 20%, maybe down 50%. I mean, it was a pretty wild week. It was fun, don't get me wrong, and exciting as an intraday trader. You want to see that kind of range. But yeah, wow. I mean, there's no way in hell I could have traded that without Volland, so I'll just leave it at that.
Did you end up making money last week, or?
We did. It was a good week, but I mean, there was a times where, you had a trade, a couple of those I had to close for a loss, right? They hit your stop. When your P&L gets especially your stop loss on an OPEX week, I respect it like no other, right? I hit it. There's 1 or 2 trades there last week where I got shook out, right? I had the right direction. They shook me out, and then they decided to make the move by selling it last week. So, I mean, that's just OPEX week. You got to know your risk, right? And then, have your conviction. And luckily, I came out on the good side last week. So otherwise, it could have been pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as a swing trader, it's all about sticking with your plan. Because, I mean, in my particular case, I had a very wide but short-ish gamma trade. It was like I had a large butterfly above, and then I had calendars below, pretty much at the goalposts of where I expected the whipsaw to happen. And the goal is to close out at delta neutral. And, because there's 2 kind of delta neutral areas there. And I didn't expect, what was it, Thursday, where we went up like 100 points and then came down 150. I didn't expect to leg out of the butterfly and be like, okay, I made a little bit of profit here. And then I'm sitting there debating, do I reapply? Like, I put on a small hedge above, but nothing too much, because Volland was saying, this is a rip to sell. This is a rip to sell. And then once VIX started ramping up, then I made my declaration on Discord where I was like, bold call. We're going to close this gap, because VIX started ramping up. It was so under VIXed. And when I saw it ramping up, I was like, oh, this thing is done. We're going to tank.
Yeah.
And we were in negative gamma up there. And I was like, okay, let's go. And it did. It did, and some. So now so I closed both sides in the positive. So I was like, that was my trade plan, but I did not expect it to hit in one day.
That was the wildest Thursday intraday session, I think, since Liberation Day.
Oh, really?
That April. I mean, we haven't had a day like, I mean, think about it. We swung almost like 250 points between the overnight session, the intraday high, and then the intraday low. Like,
yeah,
that's a wild move.
That's it. That ETR is shooting up.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, should we jump into this week
Yeah.
and see what kind of fun we're in as well? So, just to call out this week, it is Thanksgiving on Thursday. So, I think the futures market might be open for a few hours, but the general market is closed on Thursday, just for everyone. So we are 1 day shortened uh, than we normally are from a trading week, right, Wiz? So just keep that in
Isn't
mind as you open your positions.
isn't Friday a short day too?
I believe so. I was going to say typically that Friday is. Let me take a look here. I can let you
Yeah.
know.
I think Friday's a short day. But here, while you're looking, click on Event Catalyst. We'll take a look at those.
Yeah, well, we're looking at that. Not a lot here. I'll let you kind of
All right.
jump in.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
you got some PPI here. I mean, there's not going to be a lot because it is an American holiday on Thursday, and pretty much every government employee has off on Friday. I know what you're thinking. Didn't they just have off for about a little over a month? But I'm pretty sure that they would not agree with you on that. They should get, most of them take off that Friday. I think you actually have to take leave if you want off that Friday, unless the government gives it to you. Most of the time they do. But anyway, PPI and then building permits, which is interesting because I don't know where they're getting those surveys from. They have to send them out. You have to be in the office to send them out. Last time, I mean, I worked there, what, 15 years, more than 15 years ago, almost like 20 years ago. It was a lot, it was the last time I was there. Maybe they automated it since then. Yeah, I don't know where they get those building permit surveys back. But anyway, yeah, there's not much here. It's supposed to be kind of a slow catalyst week, but after that low liquidity last week, I don't know. What do you think?
I think what even like last week's a little bit of uncertainty with the data. I don't know if you noticed, like there's jobs data they did release, right? And it was like job openings increased, and then the claims decreased, but then the unemployment rate went up, right?
Mhm.
So no, I don't think anyone has any certainty. I think that was, partly, some of the volatility that we experienced last week is just what is the data? We don't know what it is. And I think you're going to have a little bit of that with this specific data this week as well, right? Like to your point, how do you know what is what if you haven't been working for the past, 60 days almost? So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
labor participation rate went up, I think. But really, those two surveys, the jobless or the job number and the unemployment rate, those are two different surveys.
Yeah.
The job creation number comes from a survey of companies, and the unemployment rate comes from a survey of households. So, it's kind of a weird dynamic on that. And there's also a lot of like seasonal adjustment too. But also the other
Mhm.
weird thing is those are like 2 month old.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's like, well, I don't I mean, I'm kind of skeptical that there was much of a move based on those numbers, just because it was 2 months old. Like it's so
Yeah.
old that. But I think that's the last report that the Fed's going to get before their meeting, right? When's their meeting? It's next week or a week
December.
after?
I think it's in a couple weeks.
It's 2 weeks.
December.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So I'm with you. I think you're just gonna have a volatile week again,
Mhm.
which kind of, if you look at the weekly expected move, it's roughly about 146 points. So that puts your upper target at about 67.50 and the lower expected move of about 64.56. So there's quite a bit of range here, especially for 4 trading days. You are accurate. Friday's also a shortened day. So you essentially have, call it
Three and a half.
3.5 days of trading to get to this 146-point move here. So it's going to move. If you don't believe it, believe in Volland, at least it will guide you. So it will be quite a range here, in my opinion. But any thoughts?
Well, I think the 1 day, the 0 DTE range is like 50.
Yeah.
I was looking at that when I was doing my Substack today. I'm like, I know that like the average true range over the past couple weeks is about 50. but this expected move seems a little bit expensive, because if our average true range is 50 and the 0 DTE expected straddle is 50, that means in 3 days this is meant to go 50 consecutive days in one direction. I don't know if that's really, this just looks overpriced, but the 50 kind of feels underpriced, because usually you're supposed to get a little variance risk premium. So I don't know. I think there might be some opportunities on that too.
I think this is a week of patience, and by that, let's just dig into some of the details here. Just from a technical analysis, you're in a bearish, higher time frame from just purely a chart standpoint. You've got, we've set multiple value area shelves or resistance levels above us over the past few weeks, right? We couldn't even get above last week's high. We closed below last week's low, right? So there are all these things that are still in effect here to make us bearish, quote unquote, right, Wiz, from a technical standard. So just these are the levels I'm kind of looking at from a technical analysis. I think the other thing, you got to just keep an eye out on the VIX futures, a pullback into the 21 area, perfectly okay with it. But if that 21 holds on the VIX, you're going to see a lot more volatility this week, with that VIX potentially spiking back up towards 23. So that is, essentially, I'm looking on the VIX. If it's above 21, there's going to be more pressure on the SPX. If we're below 21, I think you start to release some of that pressure, but we're not quite there yet. So just in terms of those VIX key levels there, you got your 21, 2180, 2250. So we are slowly approaching that 21 zone right now. So if that breaks, that's what the bulls want. And that's where you're going to start to get some of your higher order VANAs kick in as well. What are those non-zero DTE levels? So I'm going to kind of give you my summary here, then we'll go jump into Volland and look at this together. So I think intraday here, and even on the week, your resistance is the 6650 level. We've rejected it now, I think, like 2 or 3 times in futures action. And then to the downside, like 6600, 6625, even if you go into today's intraday view, 6615. So that's the zone there, in my opinion. You kind of break yourself out of those two areas, you're going to probably go up to 6700, which is a massive negative VANA here that is just collecting, and you got some strong positive gamma there as well. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. You get above 6650, you can start chasing 6700. There is some intermediate stops here. I'd rather short at the top range here. And then down to the downside here, that 6600 zone is what I'm kind of looking at here as well. So let me go ahead and pull Volland up here. But Wiz, what are your thoughts?
I'm not a big technical analysis guy, so I didn't know half of what you were talking about. But you're right. That's not true. I knew what you were talking about, but it's for me, it's all about kind of where are these dealers pushing, and that's my edge. So I these levels, though, the two that I saw, at least on this time frame this week, 6450, 6750, and in that range, it's no holds bar. It could go anywhere. That does kind of drive a little bit, though, with the 150 point range. So
yeah, I think for me is, if we get to the upper side of this range, especially near 6750, it's an opportunity, or 6650. I think it's a shorting zone in my opinion. And you kind of seen that every week here for the past 3 weeks now, that upper range hits. And it doesn't mean that we don't go back and test it potentially, like last week, right? We had that above 6700 last week. So for me, if I get something close to 6700, I would love it. I just don't think we're going to get that far up this week. I think the highs it's going to be this zone that we're in here at 67 or 6650, excuse me. That's what I'm kind of looking at shorting and then taking that down there.
So that's a nice like sold call vertical for the week, at least for the day, even at 6,700. That's
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree. So that's what I saw from Volland here. So again, a couple of those key levels to the downside. I think, I want to see how 6625, that 6600 region, you do have multiple, positive Vanas, but once this zone breaks though, you don't have a lot of major support. If you kind of notice there, as I was pulling up the weekly, you've got these two guys here at 6,500 and 6,550. They're quote unquote, I'll call it speed bumps. But if you look at the total notional value here, Wiz, like that's not a lot, especially on a week. I mean, if I'm looking for a lot, I'm looking at what the 6,750 and even 6,700 is, closer to 50 million to 100 million here. So just because you see these, don't just assume that they're going to hold. To your point, there's a good chance as you go down here and look at the all expiration view, now you can kind of see where those big levels are. And so that's where I'm watching 6,600, because if this thing goes, like, this is an air pocket is what I call this right here.
So what do you think? Are we closing this morning gap?
I think we are. I mean, I think we're gonna get, the weirdness in the morning that they normally do. So you got to be patient here a little bit. But yes,
the old dark matter bold call.
Yeah,
Pre-market dark matter bold call. I
mean, we technically, in futures, they closed the gap overnight. I mean, it hit the levels. I mean, again, our trade plans, if you go in here, this was before the evening, right? So you're looking at 1018 here. And I kind of said two things right here, Wiz. Bullish above 66.55, bearish below 66.15. And you can go look at your ES. Those were exactly, now our high was 66.50, I guess, or 53. So I'm sorry, I was 2 points off. But these are the levels to crack, especially intraday. You crack those, you're going to find your movement there. But if we hold between these two levels, you're just going to mean revert. It's going to be a ping pong kind of action.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's going to be violent too, because it seems like liquidity is low.
Yeah, you're dead on.
There, I'm doing this. You see, this is what happens when the adults are out of the room.
That's right. Jill's never going to leave you with a hotkey for those banners again.
No. No, and I don't even know how to put our names on the thing.
At least you know how to pull up the questions. So do we have any more?
Yes, questions? I do know how to pull up some questions. We have no questions though. Everybody's taking off for Thanksgiving.
They are.
Yeah, I mean, OPEX last week. I mean, I'll do a little bit of a retrospective. Do you want to go through this? Sorry.
No, I'm just going to leave it here. I mean, these are
so people can look at it. I mean, going through that retrospective, I mean, even with the fund, our in-house fund that we have that is audited and legal and everything, we had a great that Thursday, that big whipsaw day. That was like a +3 and change kind of day. It was like 3.8% day. It was like, just follow your plan. That's my big advice on this. Just follow your plan, and you can't really like panic, or if you see red, you can't be afraid of the red because you're gonna see it. Just follow your plan, and if you trust your plan, whether with Volland or TA or whatever, I mean that's pretty much the biggest advice I have. Doing this kind of stuff.
You can't trade this without Volland. There's no way you could trade this without Volland, Wiz. Let's not kid ourselves here. If I didn't know where the dealers were sitting at, I would know which way to keep going, swinging hard or not as hard, right? So I don't undercut your service here.
I mean, it's I find it, it frustrates Jill too, but I find it hard to sit there and just shower praise on myself. I know there's a lot of people that do that, a lot of furus that do that, or drive their Lambos, and but it's not really my personality or my thing. So
No.
yeah, but all right. So I guess that's it. I mean, Jay, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Anything good?
We're hosting the family, so that's typically how it always comes, is we find a way to host the family. But I'm looking forward to it. There'll be some good food, obviously, some laughter, fun times with the family. So, how about yourself?
We don't go anywhere. To travel on Thanksgiving is such a pain. I did want to call attention though, what you just brought up with SPX Gamma. So this is what is very we kind of have to keep this in mind. Currently, the market is, I call it like a dealer positioning bear market, where instead of like the JEX assumption where customers are buying puts and selling calls, we are in an opposite formation, right? Customers are selling puts and buying calls. That's very bearish. I know it sounds bullish because it's selling puts and buying calls. Those are like two positive deltas, but that means that dealers are either delevering their portfolio, they're taking risk off, or they're actually actively shorting underneath. And so positive gamma, what you're seeing here, is not necessarily good. When it's positive gamma and negative Vanna, that's very bearish, right? Like, but it's not bearish, when we expect these vol events, right? These over VIXing by 2 points or more, you're not going to get that very much with positive gamma. So we're going to see, that's the other thing too about this past week. As whipsaw as it was, we never got a vol event signal. Came close a couple times, but never got one. And that's because we're here in positive gamma. And as long as that keeps happening, we're going to just stair step down. I do think we'll get a Santa rally though, and that's only because of the price agnostic hedging flows that happen every December. And that's why you have a Santa rally every December. It's because you get those price agnostic hedge flows that move into the next year. So I do think there'll be a Santa rally, but between now and then, I'm kind of antsy about what we're going to get. So that's kind of my full month rundown.
No, that's a good view of the world. Yeah. I would agree for the most part. This is not going to be easy. I think just in general, Wiz, like this level of volatility, I think it's here for the next year at minimum, right? Like if you think this year or the last few weeks have been tough to trade, like this is going to be a reoccurring trend throughout this coming calendar year. So just keep an eye out for it. Test if you need to, paper trade if you must, to just kind of deal with the volatility and the swings that this provides week to week. But for me, that's why I'm going level to level, Wiz, right? I respect my P&L, my stop loss. I hit a certain level, I then reassess, right? And I think clearly last week we saw that on multiple occasions. You'd get a level, you'd ping pong back up 50 points, and then you'd sell again, right? So
yeah, I don't know if anybody uses IBKR that's out there, but when you set an alert in IBKR and you hit it, that thing lets you know. It's like it's like you're diving in a submarine. You know what I mean? Like you get that like fire, like the smoke detector just went off. And Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I heard it multiple times in the day. And like,
wow,
it's like,
wow,
and it freaks you out too.
Like, I mean that Thursday was a special day. That was a hell of a day.
For Thanksgiving though, we we don't like sometimes we host people, but we're not hosting anybody this time, and I have a pretty modest Thanksgiving. That's the norm. We see my family in between Thanksgiving and Christmas for both holidays. So. Because traveling's so tough on Thanksgiving. So
it's probably one of the worst days to travel.
Yeah.
So I travel quite a bit, but I would not want to ever travel on a Thanksgiving. So bless anyone's heart who is traveling on a Thanksgiving, unless it's by car. I don't mind car, but the airport.
Oh, and the car's worse, dude. I mean, at least
Yeah.
up here in the Northeast corridor, going up and
True.
down like there, oh, it is
True.
awful.
I-95, good luck. That's like a parking lot.
Johanna says the bells are better. I'm going to have to learn how to change that submarine diving alarm on IBKR. I got to figure that out because it freaks you out. I'm sitting there working on something completely unrelated, and then this thing pops up, and it's a gray, huge screen, takes up my screen. It's the worst. At least with
only imagine
Think or
it,
Swim. In Think or Swim, it's like ding. Oh, by the way, you've reached your level. I like that a little bit more.
It's a lot more gradual.
All right, Jay. Happy Thanksgiving. I will see you next Monday.
Happy Thanksgiving as well.
All right. Take care.
See you.